Welcome back, viewers. In the last video, we have seen what is Engines. So Engines is a web server, a proxy server, a reverse proxy server. It is a load balancer. It is an application server. So it is one, we can say, application that fits many roles, and it is widely used by the companies to deploy their applications on the internet. So now we will come back to the Docker. So we will continue further in the Docker journey, and we'll now see how to keep the containers alive in the Docker. So having a basic container, we can now build more complex example that doesn't immediately exit once it is completed. So what happens is, earlier we had installed the container image hello world. So whenever the container is running inside the Docker, the hello world can be executed. That hello world was a simple C program which could be executed. So whenever we call that container image, it will display the result hello world on the screen. But once we exit the Docker, the container image will also exit. It will stop executing, and we will not get any display of the hello world if we try to contact the container image. So that C program cannot execute without the container running inside the memory of your system. So how to get the containers which will always run, that is the persistence of containers can be enabled. For that we require the web server that is called the Engines. So we have studied what is Engines in the very short. But we can say that without the Engines, without a web server, the container image in the Docker will not run, and we can say our application will be not accessible to the users. So users will cannot send the request to the application, and the application cannot service the users. Whenever the Docker or the container image is shut down, the program or application running inside that container image or Docker will not be able to work, and it will not provide us any output for the request that we are sending to it. So first we have to install the latest Engines image with the following command using the terminal available on our system where the Dockers have been installed and the container image is installed. So in our case, we installed the container image hello world inside the Docker which is running in our system. We can check the status of Docker if we require. I showed you how to check the status using the system control whether the Docker is running in our system or not. So first, whenever you do this, first check whether the Docker is there, it is running, and then you can install the engine. So you can see here it is pulling the application components for the engines from the library. So engines library is there on the engines server, so it will download it. So we are basically pulling the engines web server from the engines website, and it is going to install it. So we have downloaded the image for Engines latest, and it is also getting installed in the Docker. So please keep this in mind. So both the hello world container image is there in the Docker, running inside the Docker, as well as we have got the this Engines web server that is also getting downloaded or pulled as a container image. So Engines is also container image, and the hello world, which was a small C program, is also a container image. So we have got now two container images running in our Docker. Now next step is we have to add the P flag here to configure the port forwarding from the container to the host operating system. So port 80 is used for the unencrypted HTTP, that is the web traffic. This will allow you to access the container from your host machine. So right now web server is there, but we cannot contact with the web server. So for that you require to configure the ports. and this Nginx container image that we have installed, it does not require any advanced configuration, and it is lightweight. So only the required components which can make the Nginx this web server work on the Docker as a container image are there. So container image are always a minimal set of packages that can make that application run, or the container image run and give output whenever any input is given to that container image. So now we have to configure the port. So port 80 has to be configured. So you have to use sudo docker run -p 80 80 /80 Nginx. So what it will do is it will configure the port 80. So port 80 will be used to transfer the request from the user or the client to the server. So here you can see it. So the poll event method is there. So the event method will poll for any request, and those collected requests can be passed on to the Hello World application. So here you can see how it has started the worker processes. So this is the process ID, or the worker ID is 29 up to 40. And there is also get R limit, and it is noting the OS kernel version. So Linux is 6.1.13 AMD 64, and this C compiler is 12.2. Once this is done, now this command will run the terminal in attach mode, which means that container is literally attached to your terminal. So now the container, that is the Nginx, is now attached with the terminal, and whenever we open the terminal we can access the Nginx. And if you want to check whether the Nginx is running or not in your system, you have to use this. So what we have to do is you have to copy this, open the browser. So browser is there where it yes, it was there. Paste it here, and then just click. So here you can see Nginx is running. If you remember, you have done this in Apache. If you have done Java programming, this was the same way to check whether the Apache web server was running or not in your system. So this is the way. You can see welcome to Nginx. That means the Nginx is running and it is connected perfectly with your terminal, and the ports have also been configured. Because what happens is, if port is not configured perfectly, this message will not come on your screen, on your web browser tab. It will not come. Now the Nginx container is running inside your container engine. While Nginx runs in attach mode, it will continually be running as long as it is open. You can exit the Nginx container by pressing the Ctrl+C in your command. So I will not do it, because in the next video we will require the Nginx to run in the background. Otherwise I will require to restart my virtual machine. So I am not going to use this command, but if you want, you can use this command to shut down the Nginx web server. So now we will stop the video here. In the next video we will check how to run the containers in background. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.